right, I have returned, and something kind of occurred to me just as Twitch decided it was time to run an ad, which was that let's think about this for a second. So what do we expect, right? So I said in the front end, right, that if our threshold for detecting silences or acknowledging the existence of them was high enough, that the whole video would be what was selected as the clip, right? So in our findGaps function, what I would expect to see here is there would be a single result. Let's see, can we do expect dot object containing? There we go. So what is start and end, right? What is start and end? Well, if you just look at sections, you would be like, oh, start is 0, and end, if we're ignoring the silences, which is what the sections are, would be 20, right? But we don't know that because these sections just represent areas, like sections in the video that are silences or whatever, right? findGaps doesn't understand, like, the what the sections represent isn't relevant to findGaps. The point is to find things around the sections. So right now, findGaps finds things between the sections, and that means it only needs the information from sections. But what I really want this function to do that we're testing here is to find the spans around the sections, not just between. Let's see. Yeah, so there you go. It's just from the essence of what this does, it's not defined correctly around the video sections that are longer than. Okay, something like that. So given that, the issue is going to be, so we can assume that our conception of what of time, yeah, there you go, our conception of time starts at 0. Conception is, yeah, our concept of time there we go, it starts at 0. But when does it end? And we need to know that to understand if this last section at 20, is that the end of the time, or is there more and we should find a gap after? So we're gonna look at that, but to do that, we need to know how long is time. That means that findGaps needs another parameter, right? And what is that parameter? So I think what I'm gonna do, I am going to move this, and I'm gonna add length is a number. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna move sections down. That is the wrong key. There we go. All right. So, you know, just breaking everything as you do. So first I want to define the API, right? What does it look like to call this function? What is the information it needs? Then we'll update the tests to call it correctly, and then we'll run the tests and see what is wrong, right? A lot of our tests probably, it doesn't matter what length is, but we definitely should have tests where it does matter, and we'll see what we need to fix. Okay, so first of all, I think what we can do is, I think all of the so we can all of these are called the exact same way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this and we're just going to do just to find and replace. So min gap duration sections, right? Except we need a length. Let's say the length is 30. Where's that going to break? Well, we potentially, well, 30, 40, 40 is kind of the high, 50 is the highest value that we're using. So let's say 50. Let's not sabotage ourselves. Okay. So now back to this test, because I kind of want to implement this test first. So if min gap duration is a very large number, go away. Then these sections are smaller than min gap duration, so they should be ignored, which means that what we should do is we should find a single selection that goes from 0 to 50, right? So when I run this, that fails because the array is empty. Array. The reason I wanted to use object containing here instead of doing what I'm doing in these other ones, I don't actually care about how these IDs are generated for the purposes of most of these tests. I think that's a detail that's not really relevant, so I want to make the test assertion not care about it. So that's why we're here. Okay, so how do I fix this? Well, I'm tempted to see if Copilot can just fix it, but maybe that's not so fun. Let's take a look at what findGaps does. So the first thing it does is that it creates a place to store information. It then creates a valid sections array. And it does that by looking at all the sections and say, hey, the section should have a timestamp at the end. Because the type of section allows timestamp in to be undefined, so we want to exclude that. I guess what's interesting here is that we're doing a thing where we check to see if gap duration is greater than this, and we're only doing things if it is. This could be simpler, right? If we just filtered out things where let's look at this loop. Okay, so we start with an I of 0. We start with an I of 0, right? We say, get me valid, so give me the first valid section. And then look at the next valid section. And then look to see, so timestamp is basically the start of the next section. Oh, right. This is why... Wait, what? This logic is not right. Wait, what are we trying to do here? Find gaps around the video sections that are longer than or equal to the specified minimum gap duration. So what is... Also, I want to... Okay. I was thinking that this... Just ignore what it says for a moment. I think what I was treating this as was ignore sections that are shorter than this. But that's not what this is. Okay. This is about don't return records if the length of that record would be less than min gap duration. Right? Because this is about finding gaps, where gaps are the things around the sections. Okay, so our test is wrong, right? Because min gap duration needs to be less than 50. So this is not interesting. Interesting. Okay, so the question is, do I care about that? Or do I actually care about ignoring sections that are too short? Right? Min section duration. Let's replace all. Right? I think that was the intent, right? How did these tests pass? If this was 5, like, look at this data, right? So if we're selecting between 10 and 20 and 30 and 40. Oh, because it didn't do anything. Oh, interesting. I mean, this is valid. But this I should have yeah. Clearly past me was focused on a thing that I don't think was important. Yes. I mean, actually, I think these both are good, or are. Yes, I think we want both. Okay, so this gets more interesting. So let's ignore all the existing tests for now. We're gonna come back and we're gonna fix them up. But I think what I want to do here is I want to make settings min section duration, min gap duration, and length. And what we're gonna do, no, I don't want to do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make findGaps take the settings object rather than passing in like a bunch of different arguments. And yes. Okay, and then let's think about what we want to do in this test. So we're trying to test right now. Go away. What we're trying to test right now should return the entire duration of the video if there are no sections longer than the minimum section duration. Right? So if the minimum is like 1,000, that's longer than either of these sections. So both of these sections should be ignored, and we should select the whole length, right? The minimum gap duration, we want to make sure this is smaller than the time span between the two sections, so, because we don't want that to interfere with the other logic. Like, we want to test one thing at a time. We can like add a test that like checks them both. Okay, so take this, go back to findGaps, and we're gonna say type settings is min gap duration, min section duration, there you go, and length. There you go. Yeah, and then do that. Cool. And then I can do something fancy here where I just do like, hey, give me some block comments. There you go. And that way when I hover over, oh, we'll see in a second. Let's add. Nope, wrong. Settings. All right, and then stuff is broken. That's okay. So min gap duration is settings.min gap duration. Right. The other thing we can do is, hey, we can just like filter out any sections that are, take only sections that are greater than or equal to settings.min section duration. This is me violating TDD, right? Because we're making code changes to the function without having the test, but whatever. We'll see how this goes. Let's see what it does. Okay, so can I run this test when there are... We can. Okay, that doesn't work though. Great. So we get gaps as an empty array for reasons. Because we've not actually implemented the part where right. Yes. So what we need to do. So the way this works right now, let me try to explain. Is what the current logic is doing, ignore all the filtering stuff or whatever. We have these sections, and the current logic says start with the first section, look at where that section ends and where the next section begins. If the duration between those two things is greater than min gap duration, add that as a gap. That seems reasonable, but doesn't work. Because what we need is a... What if there were no sections? If there were no sections, then this loop would never run, but we still want to return the gap that is the whole thing, right? Or if there were a bunch of silences. Now, I guess this logic is fine, right? If we have multiple sections and there's a little bit of not silence, right? Ultimately, this is about like looking for periods of time between silences. So let's frame it in those terms. If there were silence, a little bit of noise, silence, a little bit of noise, silence, what should be returned? It should be an empty array. But if there was at least some period of time in there, either before or after or in between one of those is actually longer than min gap duration, greater than or equal to, then we would want to push that into gaps. So what we need is we need some virtual sections. Yes. We need some virtual sections. One that ends at 0, so that we can detect a gap between it and the next section. And then we need one virtual section at the end where the start timestamp is the length of the video. And maybe its length is 0. So, how do we do that? Well, no, we don't need that condition. Let's const. What do we want to call this? We can't call it sections because our parameter is called that. Valid sections is kind of, ooh, let's, can we rename this to something like validated? Eligible sections. Sure, eligible sections. What do we want to call this though? Let's just call this X. And so this is going to be, we don't need to sort. This is going to be an array containing our virtual section, the eligible sections, and then another, there you go. Something like that. Beautiful. Okay, and so now this is X. Correct. All right, so now I wanted to do that first before really stressing more on the name because we have Copilot. So what does Copilot think? I don't like any of those. Complete. Sections is better than nothing. Better than X. Full sections, expanded, inclusive. Ooh, inclusive is interesting. Comprehensive is wrong. Inclusive sections. Kind of feels right. So does this make the test pass? Oh, it does. All right, well, let's fix the other tests and and then go from there. So let's see. Let's start at the top. I think what I will do, we're just gonna find and replace again. This is gonna be settings. Bam. And now we have to const settings. Sure. I'm surprised we didn't get a, hey, do you want to edit all the rest of these? Here, hold on. Oh, no, there it is. You want to suggest another one? Okay, it takes it a second, but yeah, look at that. And it's just like, hey, is this the next thing you want to do? Yep. Is this the next thing you want to do? Yep. How about here? Yep. Okay, now is it going to suggest here to use 10? Yes. Nice. And then back to 5 for this one? Yep. Okay, so do all of the tests pass? Should they pass? That might be a better question. Well, at least some of them don't pass. That's good. So, okay, let's take a look at these one at a time and figure out what they should actually do now that we've changed things around a bit. So the test says it should return an empty array if no gaps are found. But are no gaps found? So the min gap duration of 1. So there is a gap of 1 from 10 to 11. And there's also a timestamp end of 20. So like if we change the min gap duration to 2 and change the length to 20, then this test might pass. Yes. Right? Because no gaps would be found in this scenario. What about this one? It should handle sections with undefined timestamp end. Right? So if this is present, it shouldn't cause an error. It should just ignore that it's there. So, right. So I think we need to change this to 40. We don't need to change the min gap duration. Leave that there. And the test passes. Cool. It should ignore gaps that are less than the minimum gap duration. Right? So here the gap is 5, so the min gap duration should be more than 5. Min section duration should be less than a 10 should be fine. So that'll be 10. Right? But if the min gap duration is 10, it's interesting. So if the length is 30, let's do this. Yeah, that passes. Cool. It should handle an empty array of sections, so that fails. If there are no sections, then the result should actually be a span of 50. Yeah, it should handle a single section. So if you have a single section, with these settings, then it should look like that. So I think one thing I'm going to do is I don't care about these IDs. I would much rather have this be like this. I don't suppose, Copilot, you can just intuit this change here as well. No? Too much to ask for? Okay, I'm not going to change them all, but that's the idea. Let's go up to here and rerun all the tests in this. All right, 2 failures left. So it should find gaps greater than or equal to the minimum gap duration, but ignore gaps less than the minimum gap duration. What? It should find gaps greater than or equal to the minimum. Ignore gaps less than the minimum. Okay, great. Sure. So what should this do? So these... Okay, so this doesn't talk about the section duration. So let's drop this to 1 so that all the sections will be used. And then we want to change the gap duration. So 10 and 10 and, or sorry, gaps, right? So this is a 5 gap and this is a 10 gap between these sections. And this should really be like 40, right? Because that's where the end is. So that should only leave from 25 to 35. Yay, all right. Cool. 1 left. Have a sip of water. Okay, so we have sections from 0 to 10.5 and from 20.5 to 30.5. Let's go ahead and say, hey, the length should be 30.5. And not going to think about imprecision of floats and comparisons right now. Just don't think about it. So is this, will this work? Is this, yeah, that should be fine. Okay, cool. Okay, so all the tests pass. I think the code is reasonably doing what it's supposed to do now. Now that we've kind of clarified, what if I remove this and ask, find gaps between sections in a video? Gaps are defined as the time between the end of one section and the start of the next section. A gap is only considered valid if it is at least as long as the minimum gap duration. A section is only considered valid if it is at least as long as the minimum section duration. Let's fix this formatting here. And is that better? Is that better or worse? Let's see what we changed. So previously it said, find gaps between video sections that are greater or equal to the minimum specified minimum gap duration. Now it says something a little simpler and then give some more verbiage. I think that's better. All right, so let's fix this. So we're gonna change this around, and this is going to take like this constant called yeah, I could construct an object. I think I'm gonna create a constant. This is gonna be like silence clip settings. Yeah. So what's gonna make sense here? Oh, and also, maybe this can't. Maybe this can't be. Oh, okay, let's do this. So we'll do this because I do want those things kind of statically defined. And then what I'll do is I will, yeah, do that. Hey, here's a question. So content length, that's the length of video in milliseconds. Are we doing seconds or milliseconds here? Okay, these are all milliseconds, so that should be fine. Okay, so min gap duration. Required time between clips to be considered a gap in milliseconds. For a section to be considered for a silence section, for silence to be considered a valid silence, right? So we probably want to ignore things that are less than 10 seconds long. And we don't want to select a clip if it's less than 30 seconds long. Right? If we have silence and then 30 seconds talking and then silence, we'll want to ignore that. That is the theory anyway. Let's see what actually happens. What actually happens? Clip silences. Nothing happens. Oh, it's old. Let me refresh. Hey, look, console log told us we weren't getting current things. Okay, now we have 4. This is better, right? So we have like about an hour from here to here. We have about another hour from here to here. And then we have from here to here. And then from here to here. So I think the section, the min section duration needs to be longer. Let's say 30 seconds. Do we need to refresh for this too? Okay, let's refresh. All right, so clip silences. Okay, what is the, it's, oh, I see. It's slightly, like, you can tell here how long the silence was, right? Because it's from 162.31 to 163.06. That means it's like just over 30 seconds, which is why the silence detection surfaced it in the first place. So let's say we want this to be a little less sensitive. So we'll say 60 seconds. Like, okay, sure, I could be talking for, I could not be talking for up to a minute before it should be like, hey, maybe that is like a break. And at some point, this will actually load. Come on, V, you can do it. All right. Yeah, let's try this before I context switch again. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now we have 3 selected clips. Clips is the word I picked to represent this idea of the things that we're going to use to export episodes that will ultimately end up on YouTube. So there we go. So that gets us to the end of the video. This is something where if I could actually have the video playing. Nope, not quite yet. If I had it playing, then what I would do is I would find the point where probably this is like somewhere here. What is this highlight? Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Reset. Oh, okay. Interesting. So what is that last section there? Aha. Oh, it's so hard to select. So hard to hover over. I could just look at the highlights. There we go. If I go down to the bottom. The video begins with the thank you statement addressed to someone or some group. No. Not completely accurate, but this is probably me wrapping up the stream. Maybe we didn't do a raid this stream. So maybe this one, I would want to clip the whole thing from the return from the break all the way through to the end. And then I would click export. I don't think I want to do that quite yet because I want to make sure this is all working before I start making records. So, all right. I think that's good though. Let's commit this. It's good to recognize when something is done. So this is gonna be a change in the video editor. I'm gonna mark that as in progress. And I am going to let's see. A refresh. Okay, there we go, number 76. We're gonna say, hey, let's make a branch, and then we're going to look at what we did. So I think we have to do these changes bundled together because we're changing the API of findGaps. As it turns out, this is only the one place where we're calling this function. Implement configurable silence clip settings. Yeah, sure. And what I wanted to do was keep that so that this gets tagged properly. We'll push that branch. And we'll go over to the video editor repo and get this PR opened. We'll see what shakes out of this. I don't think there should be any visual changes. We don't have any storybook tests that actually exercise the logic of findGaps. Although we could. And then Copilot came back with some low confidence nitpicks. The constant name silence clip settings is ambiguous. It should be named to gap clip settings. No, I don't agree. So let me go ahead and enable auto merge. And let's take a look at the backend stuff that we were working on. So, hey, look. It looks like the map process, where it's looking through all the videos to ingest them, did complete. So that's good. So what should that mean? It's not completely done, right? So it's completed the map steps, and now it's doing this later loop where it's doing the audio to text transcription and summarization work. So this is using AWS Batch to run my program that calls out to OpenAI Whisper as a Python on the command line. And then this is my program that's calling OpenAI's API to do the summarization, using up those tokens. So this is underway. Hard to say exactly how far we are along in this. I guess if I looked at the table view, it'd be easier to see. So like if we look at this transcribed task and I look at its input, so there are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 videos that we're processing, and we're on the 5th one currently. So we're about halfway through the transcription and summarization process. But what we can do, oh right, what I wanted to see here is what is our input for the step function. It was this one, this 1F9 stream ID. So which one was that? I don't suppose it's this one. No. Second, third, it's the 3rd one. Okay, the 3rd one. This one right here. Oh, interesting. Aha. I see a bug. Okay, so let's close up all of this, and we're gonna go back to kind of looking at the backend code. One of the things, see, I think I made this comment earlier that I think I was a bit confused about what I was trying to update when. Here's an example of that. So in our Dynamo update item task, we're trying to do a few things. This video clip count, it makes no sense to store that information on the video metadata. That needs to be back on the stream. And I don't think currently I have a task where we update the stream, but I should. We could probably do that really anywhere. So get stream from DynamoDB. This gets information. Sadly, we can't do like, hey, can we? Can we do an update but also get data back? Update item. Yeah, projection expression doesn't exist, right? So return values. Ooh. Not all new. Is that even a thing, or is that hallucination? What is return values? It is a Dynamo return values. Okay. As they appeared before they were deleted. Well, that doesn't really seem what I'm after. Let's go look at the docs for that. Dynamo DB update item. Edit an existing item's attributes or adds a new item to the table if it does not already exist. You can put, delete, and add attribute values. You can also perform a conditional update. Yada yada yada. You can also return the item's attribute values in the same update using return values. Okay. So the description comment on the TypeScript side is a little bit specific. So I think we can do what I was thinking here, where we do update item. Yeah, and then we do return values tasks.dynamo return values. All new. So we can't select which ones we get though. We have to say, give me everything. Let's go look at this. Use return values if you want to get the item attributes as they appear before or after they are changed. Okay. So we can't do projection, I think. Let's actually look at the API docs and it'll actually tell us what the deal is. So attribute update, conditional operator, conditional expression, expected. That's, I think, for conditional updates. Key, return values is a string. Return item collection metrics, return consumer capacity table, update expression. Okay, return values. There's no additional cost associated with requesting a return value aside from the small network and processing overhead of receiving a larger response. No read capacity units are consumed. The values returned are strongly consistent. Interesting. So, what does this do for us? So we don't need projection expression anymore. Instead, what we want to do is we want to, update. Not status. We want to update. What did we want to update? Not stream data. No. What is the key? This was the. What? Oh yeah, clip count. Video clip count. Go away. Okay. Yes, and then it remembered what I tried to do, but this needs to be string at. Okay. Nope. Okay. So, update expression is very generic, right? It's just like, hey. Yeah, Copilot is very like trying to be helpful here, but it's just wrong. Pound S, so that's the alias of the property that we want to update, and colon S is the alias of the value, which is this number coming from count. So I think this works. The question is going to be, get the stream update. Yep, there we go. Let's rename some things here. I mean, I guess we can still say it's get stream. The idea is this is getting the stream record from DynamoDB. The question is, like, when we do return values, presumably this is going to, yeah, this should be fine. This should be equivalent. It's just going to have more fields instead of stream record than were there before. But I think this will be fine. So the what's happening right now before this change is that we're actually, like, if we were to go look at one of these records, which we can do, what we should see is that we're storing a video clip count in the individual video records, and that's not needed. It's not going to hurt anything until, you know, months down the line, I go look at these records and I'm like, why is this here? Why is there a key like that in this record? Yeah. All right, so let's explore table items, and we will go into a query. The partition key is that string, and there's a record. So when we look at the record, hey, look, now we have an ingestion version, and we have a video clip count of 9. What good does that do us? None at all. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and fix this in the stream record, because I don't want to have to run this process again just to update one little thing. So we're going to go to the streams table. We're going to find our stream. There it is. And then video clip count is 9. Even close. All right, we did it. So, was that this one? Well, let's refresh. Yeah, there we go, that one. So here's a question. If I go to the editor, do we have... Aww. What happened? Level empty. Error. Fatal. I mean, that loads. If I open this in VLC... No, it doesn't. It doesn't work. Okay. Interesting. So wait. If we see this in the network tab, is it getting content? Is that the media tab? Sadly, we're just gonna see an encoded payload. Too bad. Did that download? It did. All right, let's open that in VS Code and see what we got. Open with VS Code. Hey, and there's nothing in it. Imagine that. All right, that'd be why it doesn't load. Oh, right. So this will load. The issue is that because we're using CloudFront, this needs an invalidation. Like, we've been hitting this page and trying to request this URL probably for a long time, and so it's cached. So what I need to do is I need to go into CloudFront and request an invalidation. Front. Yeah, lots of clouds. Let's see, it's the more recent one. I should give it a description, huh? Maybe we can do that right now. Let me create an invalidation first. So we're gonna invalidate that path. And then while we do that, let's see, what is it called? Media serve construct? Yeah. So we have a CloudFront distribution. We should have a description. That's not a thing. I guess it's comment. Yeah, sure. Where's our other one? We can add a comment to that one as well. In our front end stack. Comment. There we go. Okay, so wow, time flies, huh? Let's go ahead and try to deploy all of that, all those changes. So that's our changes to the step function to go ahead and update the stream record, and then some comments that hopefully will show up as the description in CloudFront for our CloudFront distributions. Hey, you can see here, we actually have changes for the front end stack now, because of the thing I just did. All right. And then this change resulted in potentially some changes in permissions, right? So we are now doing an update. Yeah, this should be fine. Just go ahead and, oh, oops, hold on. Cursor wasn't where I thought it was going to be. Okay, go away. Yes. I guess the one part in the step function where we changed it from a get to an update, it doesn't need to get anymore. It just needs to do the update. The update will return the values, effectively doing the work of the get, but it doesn't need that permission, or at least it doesn't think it does. And it's probably right. We'll see. All right, so if we go back here, hey, our invalidation is done. If I go back to distributions, hey, we have descriptions. All right, that's good. If I go to the front end and I refresh, does that mean our playlist loads? It doesn't autoplay, so let's hit play. Yeah, look at that. We have media. I guess a question would be like, is there a way to make it so that once we've loaded the, like once we've done this processing and rendered it out, do we need to push an invalidation to CloudFront automatically to make sure this sort of issue doesn't happen? It's kind of unlikely. It's unlikely that I would. Well, we'll see. I think there's some things where maybe it would make sense for me to automatically invalidate like that. We'll see if it continues to come up. But yeah, so we have a video and we can like scroll through to various parts. It's very cool that this works. There's been a lot of work actually kind of making this work. But yeah, all right. So I'm gonna take a break here and I'll be back in a few minutes and we'll continue chugging along at this. So